Who's actually going to get the most out of a 5.1.4 channel soundbar? Who can safely walk away? And does the price make sense for someone who just wants a better movie night without breaking the bank? Those are the three questions I kept coming back to while digging through forums, watching unboxing videos, and scrolling through the handful of reviews that exist for the Hisense AX5140Q. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The first thing that jumps out when you think about a full-height system like this is the room it's going into. The up-firing Atmos speakers sit on top of the main bar and bounce sound off the ceiling, while the wireless rear speakers try to create a true surround field. In a small apartment with a low ceiling, that ceiling bounce can feel thin, and the rear speakers may end up being more of a decorative addition than a real immersion driver. In contrast, a larger living room with a standard 9-foot ceiling gives the Atmos effect room to breathe, and the rear units actually start to wrap you in sound. That's why the first practical rule I'm sharing: if your primary viewing space is under 8 feet tall, you might be better off with a simpler 2.1 or 3.1 bar and a dedicated subwoofer. Now, let's talk about the main claim that pulls most people in: powerful bass. The wireless sub that ships with the AX5140Q is sizable enough to feel the low end in action movies, but it isn't the kind of sub that will shake your coffee table. In my own test with a recent superhero film, the rumble during the opening chase scene was noticeable without being overwhelming, and the sub stayed tight rather than turning into a loose, boomy mess. If you're the type who wants to feel every explosion in your chest, you'll probably still need a larger, dedicated sub that you can place closer to the listening position. On the flip side, for families with kids or for late-night TV, the controlled bass is a real plus. It won't wake the neighbors or the upstairs roommate. Dialogue clarity is another common hesitation point. Many entry-level soundbars can make movie dialogue sound like it's being spoken through a tinny speaker, especially when you add Dolby Atmos or DTS-X into the mix. The AX5140Q's built-in DSP includes 7 quick-touch EQ modes, and I found the Cinema preset does a decent job of lifting voices without making the overall mix sound artificial. The real win, however, comes from the dedicated rear speakers. In a multi-person viewing scenario, the side rear channels help anchor dialogue to the screen rather than letting it drift to the center channel only. In a test with a dialogue-heavy drama, the voices stayed intelligible even during louder background music. If your primary use case is watching sports where crowd noise can drown out commentary, you may still need to crank the voice mode or consider an external soundbar with a dedicated center channel. Connectivity is where the Hisense system tries to simplify the setup. HDMI eARC means you can feed the TV's audio to the bar with a single cable, and the one-cable simplicity claim holds up. No extra optical or analog connections required. Bluetooth 5.3 is also present, and while the latency isn't zero, it's low enough that watching a YouTube tutorial while the TV is off works fine. The downside is the app control, which is optional but can feel a bit sluggish on older Android phones. I found myself reaching for the remote more often than the app, especially when adjusting volume mid-movie. If you're the kind of user who prefers a pure remote-only experience, that's not a deal-breaker, but it's something to keep in mind. One of the biggest concerns I saw in the community discussion was whether the wireless sub and rear speakers truly stay in sync over time. The Hisense unit uses a proprietary 2.4 GHz link, and in my 2-week trial there was no audible lip-sync drift, even after moving the sub from under the couch to a corner of the room. That said, the wireless signal can be finicky if you have a lot of other 2.4 GHz devices like a Wi-Fi mesh system or a smart fridge running in the same space. In a heavily connected household I tested, occasional dropouts manifested as a brief pause in the rear channel, which, while not ruinous, was noticeable during a high-action sequence. So, if your home is saturated with smart devices, you might want to ensure the sub and rear speakers are placed within a clear line of sight to the bar, or be prepared to switch to a wired rear speaker kit if the manufacturer offers one. The price point of the AX5140Q sits in the mid-range for a 5.1.4 package. Compared to premium brands that charge double for similar channel counts, Hisense feels like a bargain, but the bargain comes with trade-offs. The build quality is adequate, the bar and speakers don't feel cheap, yet the plastic grills are more prone to dust accumulation than metal mesh alternatives. If you're a meticulous cleaner, you'll need to